Today, I want to share my thoughts on a game that not only allows you to curb stomp babies, but encourages it. It's honestly not even close to the most horrifying part of this game. Strap in, this ride is the kind of bumpy that only your sisters and washing machines truly understand. This game is Dead Space 2023, developed by Motive Studios, a remake of the 2008 original by Visceral Games. Let's take a moment of silence to remember this legendary studio killed by EA. EA may have slaughtered Visceral Games, but even though EA may be an abusive stepdad, Visceral Games and now Motive Studios will always be my daddy. Dead Space is a gruesome, unrelenting horror experience. I owned this game on the PS3 and was too much of a bitch to play it then. Now, I play it not as a bitch, but a disappointment. Inspired by The Thing, my favorite horror movie alongside Alien, Dead Space is best summarized as if The Thing and Event Horizon had an incestuous video game rape baby. It's such a good game, John Carpenter, the director of The Thing, the movie which inspired the game, says he wants to make a movie out of Dead Space. Yes, legendary director John Carpenter is a gamer, and wants to adapt this game to the silver screen. I've said almost nothing about the game, and already I've created a pedestal for it to stand on. Let me start with a little about the original, which I also own and have played on PC. I should point something out. The original game is not the best PC port. There are a few issues, but they boil down to frame rate and mouse acceleration. The mouse has a ridiculous acceleration that makes the game terrible to play. Your cursor will move around menus at warp speed. You can fix this with a small file that I've linked in the description. It's free and an incredibly easy install. The game has issues related to frame rate. What has seemed to work best for me, although your mileage may vary, is turning off the VSync in-game, but forcing it on externally like through the NVIDIA Control Center. I tried playing on a controller, and the analog sticks have a dead zone for the first half of the movement, meaning you have to push the stick more than halfway to the edge before it registers any input. It's actually the worst dead zone I've ever experienced. So, I either recommend playing the PC version with keyboard and the fix, or playing a console version of the game. Xbox has backwards compatibility for Dead Space, meaning it will run on every Xbox from the 360 onwards. My last note is there are 3 difficulty options: easy, normal, and hard. I decided to bitch out on easy, and that was a mistake. The game wasn't a cakewalk, but enough of one that I say even casual players should stick to normal at a minimum. But that's it for my notes on the original. It still holds up very well, so if you want to play for a much cheaper price tag, there is no reason not to buy the original 2008 version. But from here on out, I'll be talking about the 2023 remake. I won't compare the two versions or talk about how one relates to the other or anything like that. I'm taking Dead Space 2023 as its own beast, and boy is it one hell of a beast. For reference, I played this on PS5. You play as Isaac Clarke, an engineer sent to the USG Ishimura for a repair mission, and like any good protagonist, he has no idea what shit awaits him. The first thing you'll see, or more accurately not see, is the HUD. This game wants to immerse you in the horror, and it made an incredible design choice to help with this. The HUD is so minimal. Your health is represented as a meter on your back, which is an in-universe function of the suit it's attached to. Your reticle is because of lights coming off the guns themselves, and not arbitrary dots placed for convenience. The guns are engineering tools, which is good because Isaac is an engineer. The guns themselves read out the ammo. Everything is in-universe, and it is exceptional. There's little done for the sake of gamifying the experience, which makes this one of the most immersive games ever in terms of UI.
There. Confirming visual contact with USG Ishimura.
What a beauty. Biggest planet cracker in her class, you know.
The USG Ishimura is a planet cracker meant to mine the resources out of entire planets. The oldest one in commission at over 60 years old. It houses thousands of workers who live on it for months at a time. It feels exactly like a ship would belonging to a giant corporation that hasn't decommissioned a ship for so long. Rickety, industrial, built for purpose, rusted, scraping by, so many adjectives. It's a tetanus nightmare of metallic pieces cobbled together by the lowest bidder to do a job. And that job is to make rich people even richer. Aesthetically, it serves as a cramped, claustrophobic, and rundown ship that you look at and go, damn, they should make a horror movie here. The atmosphere is superb. The USG Ishimura contributes to that immensely through its design, but other elements come together here as well, primarily the soundscape. The music has heavy orchestral themes that harken back to Alien, which serve to add ambience as well as emphasize and elevate this atmosphere.
Sir, we're in hailing range. USG Ishimura, this is the emergency maintenance team of the USG Kelly responding to your distress call. Come in, Ishimura. Ishimura, do you come?
There are also many moments that lack music and exploration, which is a marker of good composition for me, allowing the rest of the audio to stand on its own. And boy does it, because the rest of the audio is absolutely stellar. Paired with the 3D audio capabilities of the game, you get immersed in a truly awesome way through the soundscape. But it's the quieter moments where the audio shines. The machinery of the ship groaning and creaking, whispers heard in your head, it all adds so much atmosphere and creepiness. You're not always sure if the ship is just like that, or if something is causing those noises to be heard. Sometimes it's diegetic sounds that punctuate moments, like a hand dryer in a bathroom that will get a scare out of you. The atmosphere, environment, soundscape all come together to create such a tense experience, even before you get to the true threat aboard the ship with you. And that threat is the Necromorphs, the mutated crew aboard the USG Ishimura. Most crew members have succumbed to various transformations, but remember, they were all once people. All of them. The Necromorphs are terrifying monsters that stand out for their insanely good visual and audio design. They sound horrific, screaming at you as they chase you through the hallways like my dad with the belt when I forget to bring him that 4th nightly beer. But the visuals are truly exceptional, brought to life with full body systems, like skin, muscle, and bone on display that rip and shred as you damage them. But these creatures can't be killed by normal means. In fact, they don't really die. You have to dismember them to such a degree that they are physically incapable of continuing to function. But they are still alive even as chunks on the floor. Even after you've blasted all the limbs off a necromorph, you have to guarantee it won't come back. This is the main purpose of your stomp. A move that allows you to deal damage to enemies and split the dead ones into chunks that won't reanimate to come after you again. Functionally, it guarantees an enemy's death for your sanity, as well as giving you precious resources like ammo or credits for your survival. If you're going to dismember hordes of necromorphs, you'll need a sufficient arsenal to do it with. There are 8 tools you'll find throughout the game that act as your weapons. Most of them have 2 firing modes as well, giving you many destructive options. You'll have to manage this carefully though, as only 4 can be slotted for quick use at a time. Additionally, you have very limited inventory space, with each gun taking a slot and its respective ammunition taking up another, meaning holding all guns with ammo would require a minimum of 16 inventory slots. That's simply unfeasible, so you'll have to pick your favorite guns and keep topped up on those. Thankfully, there are few kinds of resources to worry about. There are credits and nodes. Everything you buy is purchased with credits, which includes ammo, health packs, and weapon and suit upgrades. Nodes are used to upgrade weapon and suit capabilities. The distinction here is buying an upgrade with credits extends the upgrade tree that's available to fill out with the nodes. It's not a lot of management, but it's enough where you'll have to think about what you carry, how much of it, what to spend resources on, etc. It's very smartly done. The game is always throwing something at you, and manages to keep new scares coming as well as keeping old scares fresh while maintaining some level of tension. Early on, you learn necromorphs travel through ventilation systems, and can come exploding out of vents at any moment, vents which are conveniently scattered liberally throughout the ship. From the earliest moments of the game, you will learn not to trust vents, and will always get a little nervous when you have to pass one. But there's plenty of times when they shake it up by having nothing happen, or placing multiple vents with the necromorphs able to come out of any of them, allowing for uncertainty as to exactly where threats will emerge. There was even a scare where I was sure a necromorph would come from a vent in front of me, only to have one jump from a ceiling vent I hadn't noticed. You're never safe either. In case you thought shops and workbenches were safe zones, think again, dumbass. Some moments have enemies come into areas with save stations and stores, and one time, which I unfortunately didn't capture footage of, I was in a workbench when I got ambushed by enemies. Like any game, you learn the rules and start to figure out what can happen and where the system's limits are, but Dead Space shakes it up enough that you're never quite sure if those limits are there. I was never attacked while saving my game, but I'm not convinced it's impossible. Overall, the creator of Dead Space said he wanted to make the scariest game ever, and in many ways he did. The remake is no exception, bringing the legacy of one of the best horror games to a new era, preserving what was great and elevating what it could. It is terrifying, and even someone familiar with Dead Space, who's played a few horror games, was getting shaky playing. I spent the majority of my time playing in the dark with headphones on, and by God is that an immersive and highly scary experience. There's no denying that Dead Space is absolutely the top tier for horror games. I highly recommend both the original and the remake of Dead Space. They are tense, terrifying roller coasters of exceptional sci-fi horror that will have your pulse pounding for quite some time. And always remember, fuck you, EA. Fuck you.